Good morning, everybody. Is it time? Yeah, it's noon. Awesome. Well, good morning. My name is Samantha Mirabal. I'm with Melco's application team doing our DesignShop Talk today. I got all of one easy question today sent in ahead of time. So if you have questions, go ahead and type them in on the chat. Don't send them privately. I won't see those until long after we're done with this. Good morning, Denise. Thanks for joining. But let us know what questions you might have. Type them in. I'm going to try to drag my feet for a little bit to get everyone a chance to type in their questions. But till then, let's see. Let me go check both platforms and make sure we're up. So there is Facebook. That's cool. And there is YouTube. Excellent. So it looks like both are live. So I'll go ahead and get started. And like I said, just type in on the chat and we will see what trouble we can get into. All right, so what makes colors show up as null? Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer as to why, but I do know how you fix it. So what that's referring to, because I see it every now and then as well. So when you have multiple colors in a design, every now and then they'll start showing up over here as null, literally N-U-L-L. When you see that, you want to fix it because depending on what version of OS you're running, when you send it to the machine, it does really bizarre things. So over here, there's a few ways you can address it. So you can select whatever item it is that says null and give it another color. Okay, so that's one way. Over here, you can, of course, right-click, and I've noticed if there's a whole bunch of them and they look correct on the screen, they're just showing up as null, I'll go into edit color, and then over here I'll just tell it to match chart, and that way it will rematch all of these to the thread chart. Good morning, Carla, Natalie, and thanks for joining. So that's what I would suggest is right click, edit color, match chart, apply, and it will match the colors and get rid of all the nulls. Yeah, Florida, we had a hurricane hitting our way. I'm on the East Coast, so for us over here it was just a tropical storm. So we didn't even lose power, which I'm thankful for. So I must say it was not bad for where I'm at. I'm still thinking of everyone else that's in the path of all the rain and the storm. It's pretty, hurricanes are annoying part of living in Florida. Oh well, all right, so let's see. But yes, we're safe here. Another question typed in. If you have a design digitized, what extension should you request? So it really, you can request about 1 million formats, and they are all going to run. Now, what I mean by that, there's a big list in the manual, and let me see, Melco, let's see if that same list is here, file formats. I was gonna, there we go. Let's see what they say here. What does this take me to? Oh yeah, okay, so this is in the manual. So you can see, you can use a lot of formats on your machine. Now, if you're sending it out to be digitized, what I would suggest is if you have DesignShop, request native OFM and make sure you specify native OFM and not expanded OFM. Expanded OFMs aren't very, I mean, it's useful, but because it saves the color information, but it doesn't save all the wireframe data. If you tell them you want it native OFM, meaning they digitize it in DesignShop, then you'll be able to modify it and fix all sorts of things. So I would say OFM. If they don't use that, then it comes down to whether you want color information saved in the file or you don't care. So the DST and EXP formats are always good. Almost everyone saves those. The other ones that save color would be the JEF, the PES, so PES, JEF, HUS, ART, where's the art? So art files. Those are the ones I would suggest that save the color information in the file. But you can see any of those are acceptable. So you can ask for a lot. I would ask for DesignShop native OFM as my first, and then fall to DST, Jeff, Huss, Art, Pess, any of those. Keep in mind, those formats that I read off do save color information in the file, but sometimes the colors will pop up still strange, and that's because whatever software they created in, their color charts are different than the ones we have. So but it at least gets you close. Usually a green is usually a green, things like that. Good afternoon, Rob and Fatima. Denise, thanks for joining today. Okay, so what other questions might you have? So if you haven't, just because I did this off on my other monitor, if you haven't used this, you should check it out. So mocha-service.com. What I just did to get to that is I went to this website, typed in the FAQ, searched for file types and supported file types, and this took me straight to the page in the manual that has all that. So that's how I got to it. But why I wanted to show you that is this area here, this FAQ section's really good. You can search for all kinds of fun stuff, so, you know, whatever you're looking for, and it has all kinds of resources for you. So like these DesignShop Talks, they do go, where are they? Let's go back and look. DesignShop Talk. So even this, if you look at here, it'll give you kind of a rundown, or at least a high level of what was discussed during those talks. So if you're looking for something, you can do a Control F on this page and search for, you know, decorative stitches or whatever it is you're looking for, and go, oh, that was talked about on that date. And by the way, there's the link to the video. So there's a lot of good information put out here in this FAQ section. So don't forget that's a resource available for you. All right, what other questions might you guys have? I don't see any typed in. So we talked about that. Any others? Like I said, I put the question out yesterday afternoon looking for feedback and didn't see any. I know it's been a little bit hectic with all the weather and everyone getting back to school, so I kind of expected that. But if there's specific things you guys are wanting to learn about, be sure to let us know. Ooh, I did want to show you this just because I saw it. I don't see them on sale very often, so when they go on sale, it's pretty cool. If you haven't tried those fast clamps, they're pretty fantastic. They're on sale right now, 50% off. Apparently just today, so if you're looking for them, remember to check those out. Anyway, oh, how can I see all the colors on the left? Right, left, okay. Okay, so let's see. Do you mean how do you see these right here, Denise? Is that what you're asking? How do you see this color palette? So that is right there. If you right click here, there's the mini palette bar. You can also go to View, Toolbars, Mini Palette Bar, right there. So either will bring it up for you. Okay. How do you eliminate bobbin showing? Tension and active feed all okay. So the bobbin coming up top it's a tension issue, right? So you've got two or both going on. If your top thread is, well, let's start with the bobbin. If your bobbin is super loose, it can wrap around to the top. Okay, so if the bobbin is too loose, it's going to come up to the top. If your active feed is too tight, it's going to pull the bobbin up to the top. Now, it could be a combo of both, so where it's not really balanced well. So it's really a matter of looking at that, right? So looking at your tension. If you haven't tried the tension gauge for the bobbin tension, that sometimes helps. And the other, I guess, would be to look at your active feed settings. Remember, the lower the number, the tighter that top thread is going to end up running. The higher the number, the looser the thread is going to be on the top. So that's another thing to consider. All these colors, it might just be because you need to scroll. So depending on See that your screen might be small where you're not going to see them all. So you can move that bar up here. So if your screen is small where you can't see it, you can move the bar up top and it will go across the side. So it just, or you can even dock it next to this guy to where you can move it around. Right? So if you're, particularly if you're on a monitor that has a small size, you might only be seeing those. So if you left click and drag that out, you can move that somewhere else to where you can see it all. So you can move it around, dock it next to this other one. That's another option. I just like mine there. Okay, so you can just dock it in different places. Let's see. What else do we have? Okay. I don't see any other questions typed in quite yet. Oh, you did ask about bobbins, Edwin. Well, bobbin quality is important. One of the things that I always like showing at trainings when I go is I'll take bobbin and I'll pull it off and watch it hang. If it's like knotted up on itself, curled so tight, that's not really the best bobbin to use. The other thing you can do is run your finger along it and see, basically pinch the thread. Here, I'll demonstrate with a spool of thread. So pinch the thread and run your fingers down the thread, right? If the thread is even and it feels like all the same consistency down it, at least the thread quality is reasonable, right? If you're feeling like it's getting bumpy and then it's skinny and then there's knots and bumps all over it, what's that going to do as it goes through your bobbin, that little spring? That it's going to be thicker, which means your tension's going to be higher. It's going to be thinner. Your tension on the bobbin's going to be looser. So the bobbin thread may be not the best quality, right? So ones that I routinely like that have nice bobbin, nice and even thread on the bobbins. Let's see which ones. Coates brand, Trusew, Trussew. Those are good. Those are the paper-sided ones. I really like those. Filtech, the thread on those is really nice. So those are magnetic. Nebs, Nebs, those are ones that are plastic-sided. The nice thing about those, and I buy these periodically for this reason, I save the plastic cores so that when I need to wind a bobbin to match whatever I'm doing, I'll actually wind it onto those plastic ones. Can I bring in basic clip art and convert it to stitches? Sure. Let's see. C drive, designs, graphics. Here, smiley face. There's some basic clip art, right? Okay, so you can bring in whatever you want, and then there's a few ways you can convert it. And you can do right here, graphic to conversion assistant, or you can use this guy. I like this one a lot, stitch graphic region. So that's going to find the borders. Now, let me make that a different color so we can see it there, and I'll turn it into 3D. So we have a gray eyeball. So, you can go through and one at a time select what you want it to find. That's cool. You can take the entire picture and right click, go to graphic to conversion assistant, and you can either step through it all or just forget that and say auto convert, and it'll auto convert it for you. I can delete the eyeballs I already made. So now I've got an auto converted smiley face. Maybe I don't want that hole in there, so I'll delete it. Things like that. What did I just do there? If I turn off the eyes, you'll see there's a hole in there. Well, if I don't want the hole, I can select the shape, select the hole, and hit delete. There we go. Okay, so yeah, you can copy a clip art, paste it in, do what I did is just drag it in. Any of that works. So a new question, when should I use pull compensation, or should I use it on all objects in a file? I use it on everything, and the reason being, just the nature of embroidery, it's going to shrink some, right? So it makes sense to me. Like if you're looking at how this column right here is going to sew, right? My needle's going to go stab the fabric right here, grab the bobbin thread, and then it's going to come out and it's going to move really fast this way, right? Well, it's technically going the other way. So down this way, right? So the thread is going to be pulling through that hole as the machine's moving over here. So what's that hole going to want to do? It's going to want to shift this way, right? So that hole, rather than being there, is now going to be right here. So it moved over a little bit. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to go stab here, and then I'm going to move that way. So that hole is going to move this way. So what did we just do? We narrowed that column, right? So because embroidery is going to narrow up, it's normal, up to 10%. It's a little excessive, but it's going to narrow a few percentages, right? So because of that, I add pull compensation onto everything. My preference is points as pull offset. Because it's additive. You're telling it overstitch it by 1 point or by 2 points, rather than overstitch by a percent. Percent is multiplication based, and the easiest way to see why, or for me to demonstrate why I don't really like it. Let me draw a triangle. Ugly triangle drawn. Okay, so. All right, so I've got a triangle, and if I make this pull, I'm going to do a big number. You shouldn't do this. My shape no longer looks like a triangle, does it? Right? Because what the pull by percent is telling it to do, it's saying, all right, so overcompensate the stitch by 50% roughly, right? So the stitch length is running this way, so it's going to take half of that, and it's going to overstitch it past the wireframe. Right? So when you're up here, the stitch length is really small, so you're hardly getting any compensation. By the time you get down here, the stitch length is really, from one edge to the next edge is really long, so it's going to overstitch it a lot. So it adds distortions to things. So I personally don't use percentage-based pull compensation, and again, I'm going to do this by a stupid number just to show the effect. But you can see it still looks like a triangle. It's just overstitching it by a set number. All right, so 1 to 2% is plenty. Bobbin thread shows around 10% of the completed logo, and not all the time. Yeah, so I'm guessing it's stitch direction based, and that your active feed is probably still going to be either a little tight when it's running in those directions. Edwin, that would be my thought on that. What border should I use on patches, and how do you add it? Border, you're going to use a satin, so a single line center. So if you're drawing it from scratch, you can just draw it and make it, something wide. 40 points. Yeah, Juliet, we talked about the bobbin already earlier, but yeah, the bobbin could be loose as well. Let's see. What was I doing? Oh, border. Okay, so you can draw it there. If you have a shape that you want to turn into a patch, you can then hold the shift key down on your keyboard and click on that guy. And that will shift adds it, control changes the shape. So if I delete that, so let me delete that one. So if I hold control and click on that, notice my fill went away, and now I just have a border. And again, I can change that to, something wider for a patch border. So Denise, that's how you would add it. You can either draw it yourself, clicking around, click, 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 shift enter to close the shape, and enter, make it whatever width you want it to be. You can click on the shape and convert it, things like that. How do I get to the loaded designs? Do you mean the designs that come with the software? So if you go to File, Open, go to your C drive, Designs, they're all here. So, I can go into, yeah. All the designs are here, right? So Legacy I usually go into because it has the one-day design that I always like pulling up. But, they've got them organized now with the new software by different, all different things. Ooh, that's new. Look at that. Oh, that's cool. These are all the designs that I take to training classes, so hey, they install now. All right. Edwin, you're using the bobbin tension thread tool. Cool. What bobbin tension are you setting it to, and what machine do you have, and what version software? All of that's going to play into it. Why don't some designs show up in the preview window? It might be an old version. It might be a format that it's not going to show up. Graphics, I don't know. Most of the time it's just a version related thing. It's like if it was made in a really old version. So, all right. What other questions do we have? I'm kind of scrolling up to see if I missed anything in the comments. Okay. Sweet. What other questions might y'all have? I don't have any others sent in ahead of time, so let me know. Let's see. Next week, we've got Friday. I'm aiming for Friday. I got to travel tomorrow, so I couldn't do tomorrow. Don't forget about this. It's a good deal. Anyway. What other things might you guys have? Next week, I said we're gonna aim for Friday for our DesignShop Talk. So think about what sort of things you want to learn. Let me know, and we can try to go over them. What else? I don't know. School season is in full effect. All the sports teams. Sometimes when I send a design to the machine, the colors are wonky. Well, that just might be because you're telling it to use colors. You've got the use colors from design unchecked, and it's pulling from your prior design that you ran. Until you color it with the correct colors, it's not going to show up right. So that's just a matter of setting the colors in the software, right? So here, let's see, where is a picture that I can show you? Like here. So if you've got whatever's here, if this is not colored, or if it's colored weird, it's going to have, let's say you've got these all colored as things. You load a design. Whatever your prior coloring was is how that design is going to show up until you recolor it, and then it'll show up how you want. You're looking for a list of keyboard shortcuts. They're all in the manual. So all the keyboard shortcuts are in the manual, specifically working with the wireframe stuff. So if you look for wireframe in the manual, if you look for wireframe editing commands, a lot of them are there. There was a sheet, and I don't know where it is. It's it's Scott's key strokes or something like that. I don't remember how they named it. I'll have to look for it and ask. But he had a list of all the hotkeys that he liked, and he had them all written out. So that might be in the FAQ section somewhere, but I really don't remember where that was put. I know I've got these up here for you, but these are commands on the OS, like from the machine, the keypad commands. So that's not the little hotkeys. Wireframe, how do you define that? Okay, real quick before I forget. In here, if you go to this wireframe, not that. Where's wireframe editing? Digitizing. Yeah. So this right here shows a lot of the hotkeys. So you'll see click and drag, and it shows you the different ways to do it to get the nice smooth curve, to automatically change it, what shift click, double click, shift and drag, left click, there's all the little hotkeys right here for editing the wireframe. So that's right in the manual. These 2 pages are excellent. If you want to print those 2 pages out, they're great. So what is a wireframe? That's cool. So a wireframe is this shape. So if I convert this, operations, convert to vector. So this right here is a wireframe. It's the points that define the shape, right? So the wireframe is the shape, and then for embroidery, we apply properties to that shape to form the embroidery. And what are those properties? The start and stop, right? So if you give it a start point and a stop point, that's 2. You also need a stitch direction. So that's a vector line. That's not going to help me. So let me draw an actual vector. Okay, so I've got a vector. So that's a wireframe. It's math based. So you can make it as big as you want or as small as you want, and the quality will say the same of it. You'll hear people say with graphics, send a raster or JPEG or send a vector. Vectors are always preferred because they're math based. You can scale them to fit on a billboard, or you can scale them to fit on a left chest pocket, and the art scales beautifully because it's all based on math, right? Curves and points and lines. It's not based on pixels. Whereas raster based graphics are all pixels, right? It's someone drew something and filled in the dots, and how clean it looks is how many dots there were, right? Whether it was a 300 dpi thing when they colored it in, or it was a 72 dpi thing. You scale a raster based graphic large, it's going to blow out to where it looks ridiculous. So that's kind of the difference between the two. Now, with the wireframe, we add properties. So you can give it a start, a stop, and a stitch direction. And then that's going to give you your shape, right? So there's my shape, stitch direction, poof, now I actually have stitches. Now these stitches are driven by these properties, by what the density is. So if I need the stitches to go closer together, those properties are baked into that wireframe. So if I want them farther apart, I change the density. If I want a different underlay, I can adjust that. And all of those are saved within the wireframe data. Okay. Yeah, what other questions might you have? I don't see any typed in. Hey, this is good for only having one question. I was able to talk for half an hour. That's cool. I don't see any others typed in. Gita did point out that, the custom shape tool, this thing's awesome. So you've got all sorts of shapes here, but you also have this guy here, clipboard shape. You have an EMT16, so Ed went back to your thing. You have an EMT16X, DesignShop V11, so you have an X, so that means you're going to be running the new OS. So, your bobbin tension, 150 to 180. Your active feed is going to be, depending on the thickness, higher than it would be on the prior versions of the software. So, but it really depends on what you're sewing on. So I would, look at your bobbin tension, make sure you're around 150, 180, somewhere in there. You don't want it too tight. Okay. Custom shape tool. So custom shapes, there's all these down here, right? Yeah, that's a little high for the new software, the 200 to 225. For the S95 hook, that, 225 is good. For the new one, it needs to be a little lower. Has there been any updates to the software where it could help you create 3D puff easier? Well, there's the puff fonts in here, right? So you do have puff fonts. These two fonts are there, built in. When you use those fonts, you do have to make sure that you come over here and do puff alphabets and apply that to the project, because that's going to change the properties to be appropriate for those fonts. So yeah, you do have these styles that are built in to help you, but puff designs really take a little bit of understanding of how puff runs so that you can create your cap, the capped ends or the pinched ends, depending on how you want to run it. So, yeah. But no, there's the puff fonts in V11, but there's not really other stuff than that. There are some resources out on the page that show, what's it called? Show how to do caps and how to, there, how to do that little pinching effects and things like that. Oh, the custom shape tool, how this thing works down here. So when you turn it on, if you turn it on or off, there's a few different things you can do. So you can look through, there's a whole bunch of cool designs in here. I like these stars a lot. Like, I really like them. I use them all the time. So you can drag any of the shapes on there. They have different, you can see the decorative stitches that you have. There's the custom shapes. So I don't want a beaver. Let's try a paw. So you can drag those up and things like that. So you can pull all those on. Yeah, I love these stars. Okay, I'm trying to read comments. Sorry. I'm trying to understand what I'm reading. Yeah, so these custom shapes, you can find all sorts of ones. And, you know, drag. Oh, paperclip. That's new. Oh, I like the arrows. Let's see what those do. Anyway, can you tell I haven't looked at all these? I like the sign language ones. I've used those. They're fun. Anyway, so you can drag all those on. Let's see, JC Productions. Oh, you want me to show you where those resources are? Okay, so where is that? If you come over here and look for Puff, there's an overview. This well, these are all how to set up, you know, the different settings and whatnot. There's sample designs down here. There's a PDF right here, which is really cool. It actually goes through showing all the different, you know, how you'd run around doing essentially an edge stitch to hold down your puff, and then how you would cap the ends to make sure that you're actually putting needle penetrations along that edge to cut it off and things like that. So this document's really nice about going through, you know, all the different settings, how to set up your machine, and those sorts of things. There are links to some videos, all kinds of really good info out here for you. You have 2 EMT16Xs and one is okay. Let's see. One is okay, the other has issue with the bobbin on top. Yeah, so and they sew almost close. I make a lot of patches. So if you have pictures, what I would suggest doing is getting the settings together of what you're using, and then take a picture and send it to service at Milco, along with, you know, what you're seeing, because they may be able to help you dial it in some, and you can also give them a call there. My guess is it's going to be something with your bobbin tension and active feed. Just need to adjust. Now keep in mind the thread break sensors are not all calibrated 100% identical. So just because one machine, you know, I've got 15 machines out there, and I run everything slightly different based on how it's calibrated. Oh, converting those sign language things into Puff. I wouldn't do that. Those are tiny little columns on there. I would digitize it specifically for Puff if that's what you're going to do. Those are meant to be done as just straight embroidery. If you made a star and put the bear part, okay. So we got the star. Where did my bear paw go? I don't even remember where that was. Animals? Yeah. Okay. All right. So we got a bear paw, and then you put the star. You don't want it underneath, right? So what you really want is that on top. So just relayer it so that it'll be on top. Okay. So that's what you do is you'd have your paw, you put the star on top. Now let's say you want to remove the stitches underneath. You can do that. It's better if you have an actual shape to remove. I would do it this way, is I just go add a hole and just draw the hole into the shape. That's how I would do it, because It really is pretty quick. And now I've got a star-shaped hole, badly formed star-shaped hole, but I got a star-shaped hole that sews a star over top. You can subtract shapes from it. So let's say copy paste. Let me delete this and move this down. So let's say my ugly star is this one, my ugly star, and that's what I actually want to turn into a hole. So I can take my shape. So select the shape first, hold the control key down and select my star, and then right here is subtract element. If I right click on that first, you can set how much of an overlap you want. So let's say I want a 10-point overlap. So now when I subtract it, 10 points back from every edge is now a hole. So if I hide this guy, that's 10 points smaller than what I had before. If you want it to match exactly, you can do that too. Select the shape, select the that you want to subtract stuff from, then select what you're subtracting. Right click on this, make it 0, and then click on it again, and now I have an exact size shape hole in there. Now, why would you not want to do that? Generally, line-to-line things, you're going to end up with gaps, because remember what I said earlier, embroidery shrinks a little, right? So you've got some shrinkage, now you're going to have gaps. If that's the look you want, cool. Or if you're going to go back over it with a satin stitch, again, cool. So it really depends on what you're doing, whether it makes sense or not. Okay. What other questions do you guys have? Anything else? But yeah, I really like these shapes. I use them a lot. And there's a lot of them. There's even emojis, which these just make me laugh. Like, really? Anyway, I find them funny. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for joining today. I'll be back on Friday. And let me know what you want to learn about. Try to cover it. And yeah. Until then, you guys have fun sewing. And I will talk to you next week. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Till then, bye all.